Hey friends, we're back for part 2 of my chat with Jessica Alba. This interview went to places I did not expect. She made me cry with her take on AI, and I think you will too. We talked about parenting, what she did that she was really grateful that she did, and what she would take back. We also learned about how she's been opening her heart and the work she's been doing the last 5 years on healing herself, and so much more. So without further ado, here's part 2. Know what everybody's good at. Western medicine is really great at surgeries, acute situations, prescribing, and kind of those 911 moments. Healing, you got to go over here. You got to go over to the naturopath world, the functional medicine world, because they're taught to get to the root cause. Once you understand what's what, then you can navigate and operate. Mm-hmm. But until you know those facts, you're going to be, turtle on your back being like, nobody's helping me.
Yeah, you have to help yourself. Also, like, there's so many ancient practices in the approach to like real holistic healthcare and healing that we don't factor in Western society. And that is, I think, a huge piece of the puzzle. Like even just the being able to work through your traumas that you've been through and being able to work through the stuff that can turn into illness, like illness doesn't come out of nowhere. It's multiple factors that contribute to it, And if you can start to understand yourself a little bit more, start to unpack that, on top of the chemical exposures, on top of all that other stuff.
Yeah,
right?
It all goes hand in hand.
It all is part of the puzzle of you. And you can choose to be proactive, or you can just let things happen to you.
And that's what we do here every single day. We're unpacking traumas, we're dealing with health. And I've gone on so many health journeys along the way. For someone who had them so young, how do you approach your health now? Have you had anything else pop up that you've had to deal with? And then how did you approach it with your kids?
It's interesting. Mental wellness has been a big focus for me. I would say over the last 5 years, I've really have settled into not just, am I, going after a goal and, achieving it, kind of like, I guess I would sort of be that bull in a china shop kind of thing, like whatever it took. I just had like a relentless focus and drive to get things done. But I didn't spend a lot of time like listening to my heart. I didn't spend a lot of time looking inward. And I didn't spend a lot of time in seeing, like, really listening to and seeing what type of energy I attract. It was really more of the projecting and like what I was doing.
That's big.
Yeah. And so some shaman kind of told me, she was like, this is like the masculine energy is the projection. And it's like, quote unquote, masculine. There's no real like sex oriented to it, but it's sort of like the masculine energy is the projection and the receiving or the attraction is the feminine energy. And we need both. Mm-hmm. And if one is out of balance, you'll feel out of balance. And illness can creep in to force you to come back into balance. Or a trauma or something will dramatically kind of shake your world up to force you to reassess and look at your balance of your projecting and your attracting. We're always in this fine line between what that is. And I've found that.
I've never heard someone talk about that.
Oh, really?
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially for type A females too, right? We are projecting so much masculine. And I wonder if that isn't because of the times like we grew up in where
it is.
We had to survive.
Yeah.
And then I've had to kind of find my way back to feminine these last few years.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's because your masculine is out of balance. It's because you're so sensitive and you're so empathic in a way, and you feel so many things that then you put up this giant armor of projecting, and you just like slam through because it almost hurts too much to be in the receiving or attracting, because you're one of those people that your feminine is overdeveloped and your masculine has been underdeveloped. But when you can start to really stand in your power with confidence and not feel like you need to mow through people or things or circumstances, and you feel comfortable being vulnerable, you feel comfortable, standing in your power, right? And I was like, oh, because I always thought I was like a really masculine person, and, because that's what I project.
Yeah.
But that's just your defense.
So can you give me an example of what that looked like, and then how you were able to shift into that vulnerability?
Well, I think with parenting, I think I was really like black and white. And I was really like, here's your rules, here's the boundaries, here's the thing. Or with my husband, it was like task, task, task. Like we became like roommates.
Oh my God, my husband is going to die when he listens to this.
Like everything was like.
He calls it a honey-do list. I'm sick of the honey-do list.
Yeah. And it was always like being the CEO of everything all the time.
Oh my God, I so relate.
And then not spending maybe enough time with your heart, crying or holding or being, or giggling or creating. Because if you think of like the greatest power we have as human beings is to create. We get to make things, whatever that is. You get to make this. You get to have an idea and create Heal Squad. Like that is like, what a gift. Imagine what else you could create if you just only spent time creating. And you didn't spend so much energy running tasks and projecting and hitting goals, but you just spent the time just like receiving, attracting, creating. Like, of course, you have to like wake up and do stuff, but it doesn't need to be like 90% of your energy. It could be, some days it's 50, some days it's 30, some days it's 90. Like we're not robots. Like AI is going to come in. AI is going to do a lot of the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to be very efficient. Then we're going to have to really lean into being human beings. What is it that we do?
I just got the chills all the way up and down my body.
Really?
Oh my God, that's the answer. Because I've been really starting to get scared of AI.
AI is
but you're right.
Great.
They're going to do their thing. We got to do our thing.
And AI is actually, it's going to be a huge unlock because.
Ooh, that just like made me well up. Really? That's crazy.
Yeah. They get to do all the busy work.
So we can go back to being humans. Yeah. Wait, maybe we'll go back to like a whole other time because we haven't been humans for so long.
I don't think we've been sitting in our truth for a really long time.
We've been robots. Why are we here?
I think we're here to connect. I think we're here to create. I think we're here to dream. I think we're here to love, most importantly. And you can do that with masculine and feminine. Oh
my God, I just feel like I sat with a priest just now. Like that's like you were just, I don't know, something just came right through you. That was very powerful. Wow. So maybe we look at this from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So we're going to have AI helping us. We're going to go back to being humans. That means everything's going to change.
I think we're going to have to figure out, I think there's going to be a reckoning with all the systems that don't serve our highest self and genuinely don't make us happy. Because think about all the shame, all of the heartache that we go through on a daily. And all of it is like attached to stories of our past. It's not even what's happening right now, right? It's because you have a story about how your day should go based off of the past stories of how your day should have gone, or projecting of how other people's lives seem to you.
Yep.
right? But how hard is it just to live in this moment and take things at face value and appreciate like the magic of a flower blooming or the magic of the wind, you know, blowing through your hair at the perfect time, or the rainbow that just pops up in the sky, or the beautiful hummingbird that comes in. You know, there's so much magic in life and nature, or just like having a giggle fit with somebody and just being like, I haven't laughed like that in so long, and I'm just totally present in this moment. We need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're going to get closer to that because I think we have to. We can't deal with this. I think the anger and the sadness and the destruction and the hatefulness, it's just so not what we're here for. Mm-hmm. We all have such a reaction to it. Children have such a reaction to it. And then we desensitize ourselves to kind of survive this world built on all these things that from the beginning never felt right.
Yeah. Well, it's not our true nature to be hateful and to be angry.
And frustrated and sad.
And that's just how things have gotten. And like you said, we've been desensitized. And
usually that's like your body telling you, this isn't right.
Mm-hmm. But we don't have time to listen.
Or you and I grew up in a time where it was like, I know it's not right, but pain is how I'm taught that life is, and I just need to move through it, and I need to achieve anyway, right? A lot of us women had to compromise on what felt right or didn't feel right because everything felt wrong.
So how do we get there? It sounds like you've done some work that's helped you balance out. I'm sure it's not an everyday perfection situation, but how does everybody get there?
I think that, look, we put a lot of energy on belief systems and religions. And I think if we can take the veil of that lie, that there's one truth, then we can just open our eyes to the truth that if you all believe in something, whatever it is you might believe in, your God, your goddess, your creator, creatress, whatever it is you believe in, you have to believe that this unconditional love is so powerful. Your Buddha, your wherever your belief systems lie, that it's just so much bigger than this tiny group of people. And once you can think of like, oh, God shows up in so many different ways and touches and reaches so many different people because that's how they process information, or that's how they're going to receive it. But actually it's everywhere, and it's in nature and the earth and the moon and the sun. This is all energy. And ultimately, when you move on to out of this body and your spirit goes into its next phase, it's energy, right? And so if we can be more connected with the fact that we're energy, and that's kind of what I've been doing for the last 5 years, is connecting with like, what is the energy of my heart? What is the energy of my soul? And like, how does that fit into spaces? And am I projecting or am I attracting?
Do you ask yourself that consciously every day?
Kind of. I don't know if it's every day, but yeah, that's always there.
And how do you connect with your heart? Like, what does that look like for someone?
I meditate. I listen to meditations. I have sound bowls. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I play the sound bowls. I cuddle with my kids. I cook. I listen to music. Sometimes I watercolor. Sometimes I take walks. It's there's no like rules. It's when am I being authentic and allowing myself just to be present in the moment, you know?
And how did your relationship shift with this work?
You know, I'd say like 2 or 3 years ago, my kids and Cash started saying it because like we're big on cards. Like Mother's Day or like birthday cards or Christmas. And they started to write about it in the cards. Like, I've seen a shift. I've seen how you used to be just like, did you do this and this and this? And sure, I still do. Like, we have to set the table and it's have you cleaned up after yourself? We still have those, right? But it's also like, I can like sit and see them and just hang with them and not have an agenda and not do anything and just be present. And they've noticed it. I've had people at work notice it as well. People tell me. So, you know, I guess I'm just not like in my head talking to myself, and I've had it, you know, what's been the hardest for me is I was never comfortable with crying. I was taught that I needed to be tough and that, you know, being vulnerable wasn't a strength. And I realized that the strongest people actually are the ones that can be vulnerable around others. Like, literally, you are at the top of strength if you could do that. Stand in your power and still express emotion. And that was probably one of my biggest hurdles in the beginning, was being okay and being comfortable with being vulnerable, and not being self-conscious and not limiting it, not judging it, allowing it. And then sometimes I'm like, where did that come from? Or what was that one about? Or, man, am I still hanging on to that thing that happened to me when I was X or Y? How can I release it? How can it not hang over me or pull from my stomach anymore, or pull at my heart anymore?
How do you get that? Because so many of us have things that are pulling at our heart and moments in our past that are still, whether we have, you know, sometimes I bury things under the bed, sometimes I put it in a drawer, doesn't exist, I'll compartmentalize. But how do you truly address it? Is there anything that you did that helped you?
I do a lot of healings. I have done a lot of breathwork healings, and I've done a lot of, they call them limpias. And
clean.
Yeah, they clean with like eggs sometimes. Energy workers, they even find me now. So like, spirit shows up when I'm at a time where I need it, and I'm now a good judge of who's legit and who isn't. I can suss them out pretty quickly now. And yeah, for my birthday, I went to Sedona with like a group of girlfriends, and it was a risk because they all come from different groups of friends. Like, they didn't really know each other. And I had a shaman there, and he guided us through meditation. And the whole thing was just us having our hearts open and being able to receive what we needed to hear and get healings. And it was powerful. So I think I've been making space for other people to participate in this too. I'd bring people along. But yeah, I've been doing healings, and I'm not afraid of the mystical side of things. There's good and bad in everything, right? And there's light and darkness in everything. And I appreciate the systems that have been put into place with modern civilization and agriculture and farming and power dynamics and all of that, right? But I also don't want to lose, and I feel like we're reconnecting with more of these ancient practices that have been around for a long time. And, you know, you don't always have to have a black and white answer for everything. And like, sometimes, you know, what you don't see with your eyes, you feel with your hearts. And it's like, why does a dog who doesn't speak your language know 5 minutes before you're coming home, even when you come home at a different time every day, they're waiting for you? And if you have a camera inside your house, your dog knows 5 minutes before you're home that you're coming home. And it can be at 2:00 one day, it can be 6:00 another day. 5 minutes before, that fool is at the door waiting for mom to come home.
That's energy.
That's energy.
They know.
And that's the mystery of of for me, where a lot of our healing can take place. And so like, trust it, lean into it. But I have this amazing breathwork guy named David Elliott. And then there's also this awesome like Vedic astrologer who's incredible, very intuitive too. And, you know, Vedic, excuse me for anyone that I'm not pronouncing it right, that type of astrology in India is like science.
It's the most accurate.
It's so accurate. It's science. It's the cosmos. And then like when you go to Mexico, those ancient pyramids that have been around longer than Egypt's pyramids, they also care about the cosmos. They're aligned with the cosmos. And then when you go to Stonehenge, they're aligned with the cosmos. Like, and in Egypt, that is aligned with the cosmos. Like, these ancient practices aligning with the cosmos has been around before there was the modern calendar, guys. It's been around before what we consider modern civilization, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. And so, like, how can we just throw away that wisdom? How can we disregard it?
Yeah, we can't.
We can't. You can't.
When I've done it, it's been so accurate and so wildly accurate that you're like, oh my God, you know nothing about me, but you know everything about me.
Everything. And even like the little stuff that it knows. Now, are there fakes? Sure. Are there charlatans? Sure. Is there a good plumber and a bad plumber?
Exactly.
Yes.
Good point. There's a good doctor and a not so great doctor.
Yeah. Like, you know, that's the fact.
You got to sift through. It's like when you go to, you know, a sale rack, you got to sift through the sale rack to find the right, the right thing.
Sometimes you're going to find that amazing piece. You're like, yes. Yeah. But, you know, most of it might not be that great. So, yeah, I think the more you check in with your heart, some people do it with prayer. Some people do it with exercise. Some people do it with meditation. Some people do it through art or singing or dancing or whatever it is. I think the more people can connect to their heart, connect to their soul, connect to their intuition and inner voice, and know that we're always in this balance of energy of projecting and receiving or attracting.
It's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Jess, it is parenting week. And so since I'm about to become a mom, I have to ask you, what do you think was the best one or two things you did with your kids? And then what would you go back and change? Is there anything you would go back and change?
I think the best thing for my sanity, and this is only for me, and this is not how other people operate, so purely for me, was getting them on like a sleep schedule. Because, and giving them...
Is sleep schedule controversial?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because there's co-sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the people who parent and they're like, let the baby tell you what they want. And they can wake and sleep as they choose. And they're going to be the ones ruling that. But for my adult sanity, the most wonderful thing that I did was learn how to give my children these like guardrails or boundaries. And it was hard, like when they cry and they're in their crib and you're like, I would like lay down and hold their hand as they're crying.
Because they say you should be there with them, but let them self-soothe, right?
And then
learning.
And then you would like, okay, then I can close the door and just sit outside the door and watch them on the monitor and be like crying. But it shouldn't, it's like they shouldn't be hysterically crying for like 30 minutes. Like that's not cool, right? Yeah. But if it's like a little fuss for 5 minutes, that's okay. And then they kind of like shift around and then they like smell, you know, whatever they have in their crib. Like my kids loved their the sleep sack. They would like pull their legs up and smell their sleep sack and you know, figure out ways to self-soothe. And that's what mine did eventually. But then they know that they can self-soothe, they feel okay. It also helped for me. So that 7 p.m. bedtime.
You knew you had that.
Oh my God. It was so great.
Yeah. I'm definitely doing a schedule.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That was a big unlock and I would do that again. What is something I wouldn't do? You know, I was pretty intense with no kids sleeping in beds with us. And now that they're big, like it was like the one thing that I'm really sad about, because now I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, and I still have my 5-year-old, but we have special, like this weekend, Haven like made a bed on the floor because her she painted her room, and I just didn't like, even though it was a non-toxic paint and all that, I was just like, it smells too strong in here. So over the weekend, she slept in the room on the floor, and then Honor just decided to jump in bed with us and slept on my side. We were watching a movie, and that was just like so sweet. And I like didn't have that when they were little,
Yeah.
and so and then we did a family sleepover in our living room like last weekend.
Like a camp out.
Like a camp out
That's
on the
fun.
yeah. And I loved that. So I would say like maybe as much as the rules matter, sometimes it's okay to break them a little bit.
Okay.
And not be so like hardcore.
Did you have policies on social media and TV?
Yeah.
Haven's like, yes.
Yes.
What's the policy? Uh-oh, she's shaking her head, so it's not good.
I think we were a little too lenient for Haven. She got things a little earlier than Honor. I think that social media is really, if you can keep them off of it until they're like 13 or 14, it allows for their brain to develop a little bit more before they go into that world. And mind you, they have private accounts and blah, 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 blah. But Haven, I'm still not sold that this is appropriate for her, and I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So she's still too young for it. But she's not very happy about that.
Yeah.
'Cause she wants everything her older sister can have, and I'm like, it's just not cool.
So then that's hard, right? Like how do you do that? That sounds so hard.
I know, but then it's sort of like, well, I love you and I care about you. And then it's like, I guess the other thing is you can't do all of that, and then they spend a lot of time alone at home. Like if you're going to do all that, then spend time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Make them feel seen and heard, like go on walks with them or do something they want to do. Something that I heard, I think actually on the Goop podcast, there was this doctor who said like the way that our brains like hold memories, it's never the routine. So people are like, oh, my kid only remembers all the bad stuff. And he's like, yeah, because our brains, the way it functions is it doesn't really hold on to the everyday. It only holds on to the things that sort of jar the memory. And he was like, so you can artificially jar it in a positive way.
Ooh.
And
okay.
And so what he said was you can do something with your kids where you take the baby, when she's old enough, like 3 years old, 4 years old, where you're like, okay, you have mommy time, 2 hours, we can do whatever you want. You can eat, we'll eat whatever you want, we'll do whatever you want. So if she wants to eat cotton candy and French fries, and she wants to play tag, and that's what she wants to do with you for 2 hours or 1 hour, she gets to choose.
And that jars her memory into a good place.
And that jars her memory because she's like, remember when I got to do whatever I want for 2 hours? And then she does the same thing with dad.
I like that.
Where she gets to choose to do whatever. And she's like, I just want to eat, pizza and French fries, and I want to go to a baseball game, and she's like, I want to do that with dad, whatever it is. Or I want to go and get my nails done. And he's, they have that memory. And she's like, remember when we just used to eat French fries and get our nails done, dad? And so you can, where it jarred the memory into something negative, you can jar the memory into something positive. And it's also something that they do with you. And if they feel like there are no roles, nothing dangerous, but it's like eat junk food. I'm not going to be weird about you eating chips or eating, junk food. And I'm not going to be weird about what it is. We can play tag. We can go to whatever it is and let them choose. Like we've done that a few times with the kids, and that is cool. I recommend that.
So I'm having a girl. Am I going to be competing for love?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they say that the boys gravitate to the moms and the girls gravitate to the dads. I definitely gravitated to my dad. I don't know what you did.
Same.
So.
But I think I think you gravitate also towards the parent that lets you feel like you can be the most yourself and not, and who isn't going to judge you or have expectations that you need to be anything other than yourself. And so if you make space for your daughter to be her best authentic self always, then she's going to love that. And I think, you know, obviously you and your husband aren't the same. So she's going to get something different from him than you.
Yeah.
And you guys are, she chose you guys to be her parent. And so you're meant to go through however you go through this life together. And you're going to learn just as much from her as she is going to learn from you.
That's what they say.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
How did you and Cash evolve through this part of the relationship? Because that's the part, I mean, Kevin and I have been together 25 years.
Right.
Now I'm like, we're going into this new chapter. We kind of know our roles, and it is. But I'm like, it's so interesting to think of like, what could change and how is this going to be?
I think if you are game or up for it, it will change as much as it needs to. It will shake up the things that don't serve you anymore, which there's going to be things, and it will anchor in things that you maybe were like, that was such a small part of us before she came into this world, and now it's the only thing that matters. There's something about that family thing where it's like, I call it like the ride or die kind of thing that I have with like my chosen family, with my kids. It's like through thick and thin, unconditional love. There's something about that level of commitment and love. Like no matter what, from this point on, you will be family with Kevin. This solidifies that. Because marriage doesn't feel the same as choosing to raise a human. That's a different level of family. This person needs both of you forever, regardless of whether you guys grow together or don't grow together. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's about this little nugget.
I'm excited for the ride or die team.
Yeah. And it's like I actually loved Cash so much more.
I'm sure.
I mean, not that I didn't love him before, but like I really was like, oh, dang, okay, this is like another level.
Because you get to see each other in a different light. Like Kevin's already, I see his eyes look at me very differently because he just is seeing how excited I am, how much I'm preparing, I literally talk to her every day. Like he's seeing all this stuff. He's like, one thing I'm most excited for is just to watch you with her. And I'm like, oh, like I think when we got married 20 years in, and I didn't think anything was going to change, and it did. It leveled up.
Yeah.
And I feel like the same thing is going to happen. I think that we're also going to get annoyed with each other because we are very different. I'm more type A. He's not. And so he's like, I'm good with a B plus.
But that's why you guys work.
Yeah.
Right? Because if he was exactly like you guys would just butt heads. You both would be vying for the same space. And so I think you'll also see where, that's funny, type A, I was the same. I had to learn how to allow Cash to do things his way.
Yes.
That was hard.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, you can't like micromanage like pancakes in the morning, or you can't micromanage like, this is how we do breakfast, or this is how, Like I had to release my overly controlling, detail-oriented thing to let him just do his thing, his way.
Yeah.
And
because who's to say which way is right?
It's actually all right.
That's good. That's
even
good
though
advice.
my way is usually more efficient.
Or so much better. Or so much better, but we'll let you do it your way.
Because we think of all of the details.
We think of everything. They don't.
No, they really don't. They really don't. But they have more joy.
Yeah.
Because they're not sitting there thinking of every little thing.
Oh my God, they for sure do. Why do you think women have so many autoimmune conditions? Because we're always revving so high.
And we don't need to.
And they're just watching sports and just chilling and they're good. Like my husband's like, when you see me in bed with a bowl of cereal, I'm done. Don't talk to me. I don't want to do anything. else. I'm like, okay, I wish I could do that,
But you can.
but I can. And luckily, through many health journeys, I've been evolving in the last 6 years, let's say. But
So what is your like eating a bowl of cereal in bed?
my meditations,
Oh, you do.
yeah, yeah, everybody knows.
And you
stay
do
away.
TM.
No, I studied TM. I did it for a while. I started Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of
Yeah,
him?
of course. Have you
Love.
had him on the podcast?
He's been on the show many times.
Good. I love
I've
him.
been to his events. Have you ever gone to an
I
event?
haven't been to an
If you
event.
ever want to go, let me know.
I want to go.
We'll go
Let's go.
because I'm due for another one.
Great. And
Okay.
he's Greek too.
No, he's not.
Is he Italian?
He's Italian.
He's Italian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's obsessed with Kevin.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm the studious nerd who's been doing your work. He hasn't even done it. He's like, I love Kevin. I love Kevin. I'm like, oh my God. But
But he probably deals with a lot of women and he probably likes some bro energy.
Yeah.
I feel like that with David Elliott, my breath work.
Oh,
He
really?
really loves cash. I'm like, what?
yeah, Cash Pie isn't doing it. You're doing
Yeah,
it.
I'm like, I'm the one doing it, but they just like bro out on talking about basketball and,
know.
and also, yeah, I think it's just easier to be around like energy that feels probably more the same, like a little more laissez-faire.
I know. But yeah, so Dr. Joe, I did his meditations. It literally changed my life.
So
that's
that's how
why-
I started meditating was Dr. Joe too.
Was it? No way. So I started last January.
And then also the Mindful Movement podcast on Spotify.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this Les and his wife. I don't know why they always mention his name Les, but they have a podcast and she does guided meditations, and a mix of her and Joe Dispenza is how I
That's so
got into
wild.
meditating.
All my anxiety went away in 3 days. Like I was just about to get on medication. It was soon after my mom died. And it was crippling. And 3 days, boom, gone. Never came back. And I know that all my recent health stuff that came to surface is because I'm focused on full mind, body, and soul healing. And I'm literally calling everything up to come before the baby so that it's all gone. And it's the list went whoop, like this.
Amazing.
I asked for a sign. I asked for signs. Do you ask for the signs in the meditations? Do they come?
Yeah.
It's friggin' amazing.
And now they come all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So I asked
And I just
for-
know they're going to come.
I know too. And my husband's so annoyed because I'll be like, honey, I got another sign. He goes, of course you did. And I'm like, honey, no, please. Like, I need the excitement around this. I asked for a yellow flower to come just the other day. And I said, and I wanted to symbolize my full healing and my baby's health. Like that we meet when we meet and we're fully healthy. And my friend sends me this long text yesterday about how she remembers whenever she spent time with my mom, and they painted, my mom always painted yellow flowers and that they represented happiness and healing. And he says it'll come in a way you least expect it. I was expecting a flower to show up in the physical. And then I walked outside and I saw one in the grass right in front of my feet. I'm like, it's crazy.
It showed you in person and in the text and from your mom.
Yeah.
Mom,
So that's
mom came through.
that's my
Yeah.
my
that's really
thing.
nice.
And it's been so helpful and so amazing. And it's been rocky through some moments.
Of course.
You know, life kind of happens and you're like, whoa, and then you get back on your feet. But that's been really profound. So we'll go to an event.
Oh my God, I'm excited.
They're
Does
amazing.
he ever do more like
Intimate? We can have him do one maybe.
Let's Plays? Because I know some people that would sign up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to. I almost did one last fall. I was putting together an event on the court outside, and it was going to be a day of healing, bringing all my people that I've used, all the people we've had on the show. And I forget what happened, and then I wasn't able to do it. I think I was having a lot of health stuff. And so we can go back to doing some version of that, but maybe just with Dr. Joe. But
That'd be so cool.
yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
It's the way. I always
I
say
agree.
I've done so many different things. To me, that's the way.
It's it.
I didn't know you were doing that. That's so funny.
Yep.
Speaking of sports, you were just at, was it the Knicks game? And it gave me a little moment of when Pam Anderson was discovered in the stands, and people were like, who's that girl? It just had that energy of like, oh my God, who is that girl? We know who that girl is. He didn't know. But oh my God, you just looked so beautiful and so radiant and you so popped. And to find out that this guy's sauce has no idea. And then you just played with him back. I loved it. What was that like?
I mean, it's, when we've been doing this for so long, it's fine. Like, I don't expect a 20-year-old to know who I am, and I haven't been in big things that have been marketed and stuff. So you kind of know your demo. Like if it was a little bit younger kid, sure, because there's some things they may have watched, or a little bit older. But I don't,
Aaron Rodgers is like, what's wrong with you? She's the hottest thing on the planet. Like, it was so funny.
I'm not a person that's like, don't you know who I am?
No.
That's not my personality.
No, it's not.
And so I don't know. I just giggle. I was more kind of like laughing at the fact that he didn't know anybody in that room.
No.
He was like, Aaron was like, what about this and this and that?
There's Chappelle. There's this
he doesn't know anybody. It was funny.
I know.
But
it's a different time though, because also these 20-year-olds have
too much information.
There's 18 million TikTok stars and 18 million YouTubers.
There's too much.
Before it was like there were just a few stars.
Yeah.
And now everybody's a star.
Everybody. Yeah.
So it's a different time.
I think it's there's, unless you are on their TikTok feed or Instagram feed or Twitter feed or whatever they pay attention to, it's hard to be appealing to everyone, I guess. But I thought it was hilarious. And frankly, I actually have become friendly with Julius Randle, and we met at a dinner, like a business dinner, and we actually connected about mental wellness and meditating, and he does breath work too. And I was like, gosh, there needs to be, I think it would be amazing if, and I talked to my agents about this too over the years, but like, there's nothing that.
I think you're about to say the same thing I've been thinking about. I'm dying. Go ahead.
Like for people who are thrust into the spotlight, there's oftentimes you're the only person in your family, you're the only person you don't have anyone else around you that's ever gone through that experience. It's not like there's mentors, because everybody who knows you is basically getting paid. Everybody's on the payroll. It's either an agent or a manager or a lawyer, and they could have your best interest in mind, but ultimately they're on the payroll, and they're only going to continue to get paid as long as you are at the top, and so they're incentivized to kind of keep you there.
Yep.
Right? And not necessarily help you through your development. And we need, I think, a better system to and make space for people who are in the spotlight. So I'm always attracted to athletes and people in entertainment, especially younger people, that I can kind of
guide and help
a little bit, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be on blast. I know what it's like to everyone to care about every little thing you do that's not important. And for you to also feel a little bit like an alien in your family dynamic. There was another girl that I met. Who's that girl, Havy? That's on the TV show. Remember I took a photo with her? Madeline Klein. And she's just, this really cute girl. And my girlfriend Lizzie had the same manager as her, and she got a ride with us. And I was just thinking, who's here for this girl that's not on the payroll?
Nobody tells them all the things. I had, Kevin and I have been doing that for the last 12 years with AfterBuzz TV, our digital broadcast network, because all the young hosts would come in and it was their first time. So we were guiding them, teaching them, taking them through the process. Or like Beth Bears was in our movie before she popped on Two Broke Girls. So I sat her down. I'm like, okay, here's what you're going to need to do. Here are the things you're going to need to know, blah, blah, blah.
And here's how to just keep your
head above water.
Yeah, your mind right. And
you're going to lose it. It's going to be too hard in the beginning. You're not going to know how to manage your time. You're going to eat fast food and you're going to then crash. There's all these things that are going to be happening as you're trying to just even handle the workload. So I've been wanting to work with the agencies to set up some kind of program where we can go in and have all of them in front of us and be like, at least, because when you're doing it on a one-by-one basis, it's too hard.
It's too hard, but have
So
like a curriculum.
we could do
set
one
up.
together.
I would be happy to do it. Seriously.
I think that would be fun. And also the health part of it. You can do the mental, I can do the physical.
And I think it's the mental, it's the physical, and then it's also the business acumen. And it's like, here's
money.
Here's how to manage your money.
Yep.
Here's how to manage investments. And here's how to look at diversifying your time. Like, hey, if you put everything in this one bucket, but like, you've always had a side hustle. I've
Yep.
always had some version of a side hustle.
Yep.
We always had something else so that the one thing right in front of us wasn't our everything. And it allowed us, I think, the freedom
Yep.
to make better decisions, to have more discernment, and also to not have all our eggs in one basket. So you didn't feel like your world came out from underneath you at any moment.
Because it could in our business.
100%.
And it does all the time.
And in all these types of businesses,
Yeah.
whether it's in, entertainment, in any sector of entertainment, or in the athletes, they deal with the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it would be great.
Really, really important.
A system where you can just like, here's a plug and play. Go through this.
There's your handbook.
Yeah.
I've created a few different ones.
Of course you have. Of course you have.
Well, because I'm always trying to help, and I always figure out, I'm like, what's the easiest way I can do this? Okay, I'm going to create a little handbook for this. I'm going to create a little manual for that.
But then it's also like, I found in the business world, entrepreneurs get in the same boat. All of a sudden, no one cares about you. And then you raise $100 million with a $500 million or $300 million post-money valuation, and people are dying for you.
Yeah.
Or even you raise.
Or they think you're drowning and dying, and then you have to figure that out.
Yeah, and they undermine you, and they try to take your power, and then they fill up your board with their interests and not your businesses. And,
Yeah.
You
got that part.
I can help them with that. But then also, like, then how do you like stay in your power, and how do you surround yourself with the right people that will be helpful, and how do you know when to take money and when not to take money, and still, run your business the right way and still have vision. So it actually happens. And then a lot of times women in business, because they're so few and far between, they get, they like to lift them up, and then they like to tear them down.
Yes.
They lift them up and they tear them down. And then that's why you see so many of these young entrepreneurs like fall out, because they love to lift you up, and then they love to make an example out of you and tear you down. Yeah. And you're like,
bad.
literally we are so few of the population of the entrepreneurs, and you're not writing articles about these guys behaving any kind of way.
Nope.
You're taking the one girl, and God forbid she had a bad fucking day. I know. I'm sorry. It happens.
Yeah.
Have some grace.
By the way, I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but what I know I've dealt with in my world with men, they can get away with anything. Anything. Even saying they don't care about the job, even saying they don't want to work, even saying that all they do is come in, read, take a few shits, and then leave. And you're the one who has to stay late. You have to create opportunities. You have to book guests. You have to do 50 other jobs. It's so different for them. So God forbid we have a moment. And it was funny. Tom Hanks actually said something. I put it in the Slack, Kelsey. You might be able to pull it up faster. But he said something about how he had been unprofessional at times on set. And he like fessed up to, having moments, which we all have moments. And he just said it really eloquently, where I was like, oh, it's okay to have a moment, because in our world, we have a moment, we're done.
Yeah, especially women. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying in the female world.
Yeah, no, they're done with you. We're, there is a lot more.
We can't have ideas, we can't have thoughts, we can't have opinions. None of it.
Wow.
That's why I'm in here, Jess.
I see it.
This is why I'm here.
Okay. It's making sense now.
I can pitch my own stories.
Right.
I say, hey, Maria, you want to do a diabetes week? Yeah, actually, I think that'd be a smart idea, Maria.
Cool.
When I was pitching that to major shows, they were like, no. And then the New York Times would do it, and it would be a cool idea now.
Yeah.
Right? Or if a guy pitched it, then it was a cool idea. So, I mean, the reason why I'm really here is a different story, but I am enjoying the benefits of it too.
Yeah, of being in control of the narrative and being able to bring people along with you. And
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And to not always have to, you're standing in your power and not having to wait for other people to see you, to get it. I think
Yes.
that's the thing is like, I just hope for the next generation of women, for your daughter, my girls, and for my son, all to live in a world where it's not so, the disparity is not so vast and it's not so hard for women to be treated with the same respect and have the same freedoms, you know? So, yeah.
I love it.
A lot of our healing work hopefully will get us there.
I know. This was such an amazing conversation. I'm sure I missed 50 other things that I wanted to get, but I think this was amazing. And we, holy moly, wow, we went a long time. But I think it's been a long time for us to even have a long conversation because we're always at events and it's always like a quick moment and
small talk
and then go. So thank you, A, for being here, for sharing, for giving us that priestess moment, and for doing all the great work that you've done and being a true champion for women. And for me too. And thank you for coming here on Heal Squad. And, hopefully we'll see you again after our Dr. Joe meditation event and we can tell everybody all about it.
Yes. Oh my God. And we have a day of wellness. Maybe we can host. That would be cool.
Yes. I mean, it's my mission. It's my passion.
Cool. Me too.
I was forced into it with a couple of horrible health scares, but I'm on the other side of them, thank God. And that's kind of, that's why I'm here.
But how cool that that's what you did with it. It's very inspiring.
Thanks.
So.
Thank you. Really, really amazing chat.
So good.
She was so centered and grounded. And I swear something channeled right through her when she was talking about us becoming humans again. And I've been looking at it through a whole other lens, which has been a little doomy, gloomy, gotta say. Yeah. I've been really scared of AI. But she has a whole other perspective. And wow, what if this was happening for us, not to us?
It was such a beautiful take that I've never heard. And I've never heard her speak that way. Like, I've never heard her talk about like that kind of side of her. And I was just like, wow. Like, I've always been a big Jessica Alba fan, but now I'm like, I am obsessed with her. That was so cool.
What do they say? A stan?
A stan. I'm a stan. Yeah, I stan Jessica. It was just really like refreshing and beautiful. And I agree with you, Maria. I have been scared of the whole AI thing, and everyone's like, oh, get ChatGPT. And I'm like, I'm scared of it. But I really liked that take. So we can do our more human things again. Yeah, it was a special episode.
It's if we lean into the human, we need to lean into the human to balance everything. And maybe that's why it's coming, because we've gone so robot. We need to lean back into human. And that's what I loved about what she said. It was really profound. I also loved the whole masculine feminine discussion. I think that was really, really cool. And are you projecting? What was the other one? Are you projecting?
She said it's like receiving versus projecting.
Receiving, yeah.
How masculine is more of that projecting, but the feminine's more of the like receiving.
And she's super open for someone who is leading such a huge company. It's a public company too. I really admire how open she is and honest. I mean, how funny. But she is. She's very open and honest about her life and her relationship with her kids and her husband. And I just admire that so much. And she's, like I said, she's always been, as Kevin said too, a champion, a true champion. Kevin and I had a moment. We saw something on Instagram the other day, and it was somebody who behind the scenes told us they hated this person. They were not a champion of women. They were terrible. And then she's propping her up like she's the biggest cheerleader of women and she's amazing and all this stuff.
So much.
And I'm like, oh, I can't.
I can't either.
But she's not like that, and she never has been. When we were on the set of the Fantastic Four, again, early 20s, she took us all out to dinner, was like, I'm teaching you all about French food and fine dining.
Oh, that's awesome.
She's always been leading. And so, again, like Kevin said, it's no coincidence that she is where she is. But, and she just still has so much light in her eyes. She's still so bright.
Beautiful, yeah.
And beautiful and ageless.
But literally.
Totally ageless.
I mean, both of you up there, I'm like, damn. I'm like, okay, can we just do an entire episode on everything, like down to the nitty gritty of what y'all are using?
I know. If it was a different show and I had more time, we had already spent 90 minutes with her.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask her what she does but I honestly think it's her insides. It's her heart. Obviously, we all have to do some things, but there's so much more to it than the physical.
It's that inner glow. It is. And remember when you started meditating, it was like it came out of you too. I do know where she gets her facials, though.
Where does she get her facials?
Shawnee Darden.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I've been dying to see Shawnee for years.
You don't need to. You glow anyway. Why go spend $20,000 on a facial?
Which is why I haven't. But one day. But I really do think it's that inner glow.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, on both of you, which is just so cool.
Thanks, Queen. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please leave us a 5-star review. We'll leave us a link to it in the summary below. And yeah.
And don't forget to share the episode.
And yes. And don't forget to share the episode with friends or any episode that you love. We're trying to get this to as many people as possible because there's so many takeaways in these conversations that I know are helping me every day and helping so many others. So share the love, spread the love, and thanks for being with us. And if you're new to the Heal Squad, stick around. We got a lot more coming. In the meantime, be nice people, make good choices, and be present.
Distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.